Welcome to Slash Forward. I hope you're ready because things are getting crazy today. Young Timmy's been captured and restrained within Betty's pantry dungeon so as to keep him tender as she plans the menu for that evening's dinner party. In an attempt to win her favor, Timmy regales her with a selection of sordid tales from her favorite book of horrific short stories. This may distract her for a time, but will it help him to escape? We'll have to watch and see how it plays out. And to start, we open in classic small-town America on an idyllic spring afternoon. It's the kind of place where people live simply that has a very solid median income. Everyone is Catholic to some degree, and people know their mailman by name. Basically, a living postcard. Betty arrives home from the grocer, and through her phone conversation, we learn that she's planning an opulent dinner party that evening. Then she delivers some fresh cookies to her ungrateful dungeon troll Timmy. He screams his face off while she tries to figure out how long she'll need to roast his rump to feed a party of 12. Of course, the cooking time leaves little leeway for preparation, but he still manages to delay the evisceration by offering to read selected passages from her favorite book of short stories. The first one is about Edward Bellingham, a curator of curiosities from antiquity, and the spoiled college twats who have conspired to wrong him. We learn that young, beautiful Lee had Andy's sister Susan write a fellowship essay on his behalf. The entry was enough to defeat Bellingham, a part-time student, out of the illustrious award. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. The two competitors then meet.
Yeah, this is...
Lee, Mockton, right? Yeah, I saw your picture in our illustrious college newspaper.
Yes, illustriousness abounds. To show there are no hard feelings, he covers the boy's delivery of Lot 249 to be written off as long as he shows them the contents of his delivery. As it turns out, the fake essay was a secondary factor as Bellingham was eliminated from contention for the Penrose by a false accusation of museum artifact theft several days prior. Then he dives in like he's unboxing a major award and reveals a sarcophagus. But if you want to sell it, you have to make sure the goods are pure, so he begins desecrating the subject, starting with its junk, which is too real for Lee to handle. So he heads home and complains to Susan, Andy's sister, about this business with Bellingham. Susan very coyly reveals herself to be the architect of his disgrace, as she was also the anonymous tipster who fabricated the museum accusation. Back at the apartment, it's time for the main event. Bellingham lovingly pulls back his shroud as he explains the embalming process.
Wants to stick a metal hook up his nose, and they drag his brain out through his nostrils.
And inserts his curious fingers into the torso to explore the various flowers and spices used to mask the decomp, eventually pulling out the prize he was looking for, an ancient scroll containing secrets he cannot decipher. Later on, we see Susan leaving Lee's in order to visit Bellingham to make sure he's been properly thrown off the track and to plant a little evidence. As Andy's watching TV later, he hears through the register that Bellingham can, apparently, read the hieroglyphics, which seem to be comprised of a funny little limerick compelling their guest to rise. Since the spell has full potency, even in English, power surges through the old building, causing a blackout. Out in the hallway, Andy and then Susan represent a string of folks getting knocked about by a supposed burglar with bad skin. Once everything is restored and Bellingham steps away to pour some brandy, Susan plants her evidence deeply. Then they drink and remark on how lucky it was the thief did not abscond with Lot 249, as if that was in any way feasible. And besides, the precious contents are, at that very moment, breaking into Lee's estate, catching him in his nightwear. Despite knowing nothing of closets, he goes straight there for a wire hanger, which he fashions for use in an ages-old technique for preserving the dead. Of course, Lee is not dead, but this is only a temporary conflict of circumstances. Susan returns and finds her booze cranium meat resting in the foyer. After confirming he is indeed brainless, she catches sight of the thuggish brute as he slips out the back. It then returns to the master who summoned it. At the memorial service, Susan comments on how the murderer reeked of rotten spices, implicating Bellingham, who at that moment is being confronted by the dean and representatives of the campus museum to be expelled for his allegedly sticky fingers. Despite the bad blood, these history nerds are noticeably disappointed by his sarcophagus that contains no mummy, because at that moment, but it is pursuing its next victim.
I've been trying to get through to this number for a half hour now.
Why not just go there? Regardless, the mummy opens up her back and stuffs her full of chrysanthemums to hide her stench. Andy does eventually rush to his sister's aid, but finds himself approximately 30 minutes too late. With all this business complete, Bellingham begins packing up for the next chapter of his life. Since he can't pack in the dark, he goes out to check the fuse box and is rendered unconscious. When he comes to, he finds that he's been bound to his least comfortable chair, and Andy's there with the intent to roast his nuts by the flame of his master's thesis. Clearly, in a manic episode, Andy bounces around the room while Bellingham struggles to recall the incantations. Despite his success, Andy came prepared for any possibility and renders the villain incapable of causing any further damage to the living through strategic dismemberment. The only remaining orders of business are the scroll and his revenge. Once directed to its location, he burns the scroll while the two of them discuss the ethics of vengeance. We find that Bellingham put forth a compelling and forceful argument because he was allowed to live. Unfortunately, he leveraged Andy's ignorance by directing him to the wrong scroll. As he cruises out of town, it's revealed that he put the scroll to good use by enlisting some new mummies to do his bidding. Timmy is commended for his exceptional storytelling skills, but the oven is now up to temp, meaning it's time to begin. I'm not sure if it would be enough to separate you from an impending meal, but he claims to have a really engrossing tale to share about Old Man Drogon. You see, he hired Halston, a professional problem solver, to come to his estate and help him with a little bit of a problem. Drogon cuts right to the chase and reveals that he's looking for a hit.
Your victim is right behind you.
And he's not joking. He has a nice, thick envelope of cash for him now, and a matching one once he rids the house of this infernal cat. This may seem a bit eccentric to you and me, but the cat has killed 3 people, you see. They are currently occupying the sad husk of what used to be a fabulous old mansion filled with miserable old people. The cat arrived one day and the houseboy immediately challenged it to a knife fight. Despite this cold greeting, it continued to come back until it was eventually invited in by Drogon's sister. He tried to warn her about the inherent danger presented by cats, but to no avail. Sure enough, one evening at precisely midnight, Amanda was sent screaming down the staircase with one obvious culprit. Try as he might, he could not get Carolyn to surrender the cat to be euthanized. This is unfortunate for her, as it led to her first-hand discovery of the propensity of felines to steal the breath of babies and the elderly. Now that it was just a couple of murderous dudes, they caught the kitty in a basket and sent the mewling beast to the vet to be put down properly. Despite the late hour, the cat's dexterity, however, is unmatched, as is its ability to distract a driver, which ultimately caused a fatal accident. You may have noticed, as Halston did, that none of these deaths were witnessed by anyone. Very curious, but Drogon insists his account is true, and that this is likely karmic retribution for the pharmaceutical company upon which he built his wealth, testing extensively on cats. And hey, money is money, but Halston fumbles the bag by playing too long with his food and getting scratched up. Drogon then takes the taxi into town to leave him to his job. Halston opens his special case full of his preferred implements of destruction, and when he pauses to pour a drink, the cat catches him slipping by drawing second blood. Getting back to business now, Halston starts with a syringe full of poison, but this method is too close and requires too much effort. As an alternative, he plays things nonchalantly, like he doesn't even want to kill the cat, but he's already initiated the game, so the kitty pounces on his scrotum and absolutely shreds his sack. In response to this, Halston pulls out the high-tech toys. He waits patiently for the kitty to help itself to a snack, but then gets stunted on when it doesn't even flinch as he hits all around it. The little menace continues to tune him up while he shoots blindly, until, recognizing the inevitability of defeat, he opens up wide and welcomes the cat to come in his mouth. It's happy to oblige and then curls up comfortably in Halston's insides like he was a tauntaun. Drogon returns the next morning and walks in as the broken clock strikes midnight. Oh right, all of the prior deaths occurred at midnight, which is an important detail somehow. The cat is extruded from Halston's tight little mouth like it's emerging from a birth canal. Honestly, I hope you're still with me and doing okay, because the mere sight of this is enough to make Drogon quit this world. Man, that was a good yarn right there. But you know what she really likes? Love stories dripping with blood. He delays further by confirming that he knows of one, which she seems surprised to hear, despite the fact that she called this her favorite book, and he had previously discarded it. But I digress. The story is set in New York City, where strange things sometimes happen during lonely nights. An artist named Preston is hard at work trying to get his popsicle stick miniatures to come together, which is frustrating as hell. He gets a call reminding him that he had an appointment down at the corner bar. He rushes down to meet his agent Wyatt, hoping for good news about a fat, juicy check, but he regrets to inform him that his art isn't moving. And this is business, baby. You know most people get into art for the money. So he's dropping him as a client. Later on, after last call, Jared does Preston a solid by offering to walk his drunk ass home. Maddox is left behind to keep the bar standing until morning. While he's locking up, it seems like there might be trouble in the alley. And since Jared has a gun, he goes looking for it. Preston looks up from his schwans to see Jared getting absolutely obliterated. And you're not going to believe this, but it's by a gargoyle. It's quickly revealed that Jared's hasty shooting is what sealed his fate, as all Preston has to do to be left alone is to promise never to tell anyone about what he's seeing right now with his eyes. He promises, because of course, and then runs off and warns the first woman he finds of the dangers of being a pedestrian in New York City by assaulting her. And since he has demonstrated the danger out here, she agrees to take refuge with him in his apartment. When they get there, he calls the police instead of a taxi as promised.
Police, 16th precinct, hello.
But then tells her the line was busy, which makes him a double liar. But it all works out because the danger of the situation is Carola's middle third's tingling. He's broody, dangerous, and covered in scars, and Carola likes inflicting pain. As a result, they make a full, formal event out of spending the evening enjoying one another's bodies. The next morning, as he tries his best to art, Carola stalks him quietly in the hope they may discuss the matter of the previous night.
That part was good. It was very good. I needed it.
Thank you, sir, for your honest feedback. But when they start to get wound up again, he's haunted by the tortured screams of his friend. So he ducks out briefly and confirms that the nightmare was real. With that confirmed, he happily skips back to his apartment, which is now, sadly, empty. With plenty of free time, he immediately sets to calming his inner demons through artistic representation. But he has to put this on hold when he gets buzzed from downstairs. Carola has returned. After some issues with the friend she was staying with, she decided to pack up her bags and move in with the stranger she screwed one time. He welcomes her wholeheartedly, and she repays this gesture by revealing that she's an acquaintance with the Victorine Roget, and has managed to set a meeting for this titan of the art world to come and view Preston's work. Any doubt of her influence is soon squelched, as we find the loving couple in one of Roget's galleries selling and sending Preston's trash art out the door for a handsome price. The mood is only slightly tempered when Maddox arrives with his alcohol sweats and insistence on discussing their friend's death. Sometime later, Carola drops a subtle hint that she's preggers, so Preston jumps to tie her down by proposing on the spot. You guys, this is a love story for the ages. I know you don't think they're taking this seriously, but we connect up with them a whole 10 years later. Carola's snooping around the same studio apartment, trying to see what she can find. When the girls return from a costume party, we learn that Wyatt is back in the picture as well. They've built a good life together, and everything is like a dream come true. It's the anniversary of the first day they met, so they take a trip down memory lane. Maybe it's just the nostalgia, but as things begin to wind down, Preston starts getting a bug up his butt about doing some big gesture to show his lady what she means to him.
There's nothing you could give me that I don't already have.
Challenge fully accepted. Preston decides to get deep with it and pulls out what could be a secret sex box, but withdraws from it a familiar figurine. He explains to her that on the night they met, this is what killed Jared, the real-life version, of course. Even though he promised not to tell, after 10 years of pure bliss, he can't think of anything more he could want or anything else of himself he could give her. This proves to be a tremendous error, as it is then revealed that your boy has been making sweet, sweet love to his gargoyle wife the entire time. Any lineal questions regarding the kids are soon answered, and despite their tender and undying love for one another, promises must be kept. Now they are in the red zone. If he doesn't get his little ass in that oven, dinner will be late. Thinking quickly and creatively, Timmy begins telling his own story, and in so doing, wills it to come true. The end result involves conjuring a surprise acupuncture and an assisted baseball slide into her giant oven. The happiest ending possible considering the circumstances. That was one of the better anthologies to come out during this era. Be sure to comment with your favorite segment from the movie, and check out this video for more insane short stories. Now that we're here, I want to congratulate you for making it to the end of the video, and affirm that you are a very special person because of it. And if you enjoyed the video, I would love for you to become part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.